Here it is again. That's right. That's the juniper oil that I made. And you've seen it used other ways. Now you're going to see it used in a soap. In the container, I also have shea butter, and coconut oil. No olive oil. And this is just some green indigo. That's just to help to maintain and back up that wonderful green color in what I'm about to make. This is going to be a two-part soap. The first part you're going to see me make is the internal part, which is, yes, you guessed it, another internal heart, homemade. And you may think, wow, Patrick, you're so cheap. Why don't you buy a heart, column mold? I don't know. I just am stubborn. Everything tells me do it myself. And until someone says, don't do it yourself, I don't know that I'll change. Anyway, so the heart of this will be my juniper oil, what I'm making now. And then the outside of it is going to be a wonderful beer soap that is made from a local beer made right in Shiner, Texas. And I'll show you the bottle here in just a moment. But this is my handmade mold. Now, I did this one a little different so that it would be easier to remove from the mold. And I made it a little smaller than the last one too, because I want this to go in a round mold. Just bear with me. I really liked the smell of this. This has one of the best scents of anything that I've made. And I don't mean that to sound like I'm bragging. It's just a fact. The juniper fragrance from this, or cedar, depending on where you are, is wonderful. And yes, I was very messy with this. This container I normally have no trouble with, but for some reason it was not playing well with me, and I tried all sorts of different things. I eventually got my mold filled, but I made a mess. But messes clean up easily, don't they? Now, I will say that getting this out of the mold was a little challenging, and not because of the mold itself, but because I pulled it out a bit soon. So some of the sides stuck there a bit. You'll see some bits stuck to the lining. But nonetheless, it worked. So, try how I might. This simply did not fit in my regular round mold. It was too tight, and there just wasn't enough room for soap to go around the heart. So I had to make my own. So again, I've taken one of these wonderful plastic cutting boards, and I've just rolled it up. And at this point, all I have to do is make up my beer batter mix, and we're going to do the big pour. Here I have my Shiner Black Lager, which has set out overnight, been frozen, and is now in an ice bath and ready for us to add the lye to. And as with every other frozen product that I use, this is sort of a slow process. Adding the lye, stirring, adding lye, stirring. It goes on for a while. Now, one thing I'll say about this, because of just how dark this beer is, I had to go with that color range. I really ordinarily would have gone with a creamier, lighter tone around this particular heart, but decided that since I was going to go with beer, and this particular beer, that I would follow that color angle. So I actually end up adding some madder root to this just to maintain that color family. So here I've just added in a tablespoon of madder root. There were a lot of different ways I could have gone with the color on this, but it was still going to be in the darker ranges. And since I wanted to keep it natural, madder root seemed like a natural. And there's a shot of the bottle, the Shiner Black Lager. And now we get to just mix them together. And you know, as many times as I've done this is still exciting. Because even though you have a pretty good idea of how things are going to turn out, you know how long it's going to take for trace to come, you know how long it's going to take for it to, as a rule, how long it's going to take it to set up and cure and all those things. It still always is an amazing surprise to me when, in the end, you end up with a bar of soap. And I love that about it. Now, because this round mold is a 1/4 inch larger than the round mold I usually use, so that it could accommodate this heart, I made extra, but I made a lot more extra than I realized. And I actually overpoured on the top here a bit to just for the heck of it. And then I had a couple of other molds nearby. This little leaf mold, which you can never have too many leaves, right? Especially with fall coming on. And yes, I made a mess pouring them, but hey, they came out great. And this actually came out of the mold quite easily. I was so happy. I did add a little salt to this, I think a tablespoon, but it just worked really well. And this is a big old round soap. It really is. This is as large as the palm of my hand. And I cut these really large. I just decided if they're going to be big around, and now I will tell you, the first one that I cut, it was a little thinner than I wanted. It was sort of my experimental cut. But I decided after that I would cut them much thicker. So there's my little malformed heart, but it's not a broken heart like the last time. Now you'll see there's an outer green line around the heart. That will disappear. Once it's exposed to air for a while, the whole thing will be the darker color. Now, I'm also going to say that I thought this would be darker. It's pink. It, it looks like flesh. And that wasn't really the intention. I wanted it to be darker. And I thought the beer, because I haven't used this particular beer to make soap before, and I was just a little surprised at this color because there's nothing wrong with the color. Feel like a soft pink, that's great. And it kind of has a pastel green in the heart too. However, I was going for a darker contrast and was hoping that would happen, but it didn't. And this is one of those surprises that we get with soap making sometimes. But I should have known. I didn't use quite enough madder root, and I kind of thought it at the time, but I thought, well, this beer's dark enough, and this will just add some red notes to it. But it didn't quite work out that well. I looked this morning, I saw that we were at nearly 300. I don't know how that happened, but it just did. But it's wonderful. And we welcome all the new folks that have joined, and I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up and make a comment. Let me know. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I'm open to criticism. Don't worry about that. I do have one more Juniper product to share with you and after this, and I promise I'll leave you alone. And we'll move on to the next product. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Goodbye.